This is Mr. McKibben. He's the, now I get to introduce him. He's written a bunch of books. He's the founder of this campaign, 350.org. It's coordinated 15,000 rallies in 189 countries since 2009. Time calls him the planet's best green journalist. Boston Globe said he's probably the country's most important environmentalist. And it's really simple. It's the same thing that Sarah had to say a few minutes ago. We're the first generation that can really see the effects of climate change. We see it all around us. And we're the last generation that can do something about it. That's why Bill McKibben's here. That's why you're here. Welcome Bill McKibben to the stage.
Well, thank you all so much. Mayor McGinn, thank you enormously. Look, one of the things about movements is that they stick together. Mayor McGinn, really, I mean, look, I've spent too much time in Washington the last couple of years. I've become a little more cynical about politicians than really is healthy, maybe. I have to remind myself all the time that they're not all like that. I get to think about, since I'm from Vermont, my own Senator Bernie Sanders. And then I look across the country and remember, Mayor McGinn not just saying the right thing, which we can find some people to do, but on his own making sure that the right thing happened, and then calling up a bunch of other mayors and making sure that this divestment movement got a big kickstart. He's been a huge, huge hero of the environment like no other municipal official I can think of in the country. This is so pretty here today. You're not living up to your reputation at all. I promise not to tell anybody how nice it is in Seattle. But boy, this is gorgeous. And the good news is I've been on Twitter some the last little while. The good news is pouring in from all over the country, 215 big rallies in 47 states across the country, just like this one. And we've heard already from big rally down in New Orleans along the waterfront where Katrina came in, and a big rally in New York City just finishing up now, where they went and painted a line where the storm surge from Hurricane Sandy came. And you know, this is maybe the most beautiful of all, from Nebraska in the Keystone Pipeline route, where all the people got together, and the last couple of days they've built a big wind-powered, solar-powered barn right smack on the right-of-way where TransCanada wants to put their pipeline. That's the thing I want you all to realize about this fight, is that this is a movement different from any movement that we've had before. My wife, Sue, who's over here someplace, Sue and I spent much of the summer going out to different places where people were doing amazing things. In Utah, where they're trying to block the first big tar sands mine in the U.S., and up in where Lake Huron and Lake Michigan meet, where they're trying to stop and putting a tar sands pipeline underneath the Great Lakes. And then we were down in Vancouver, Washington, where they're trying to stop the coal port on the oil port on the Columbia, and with the Chevron refinery in Richmond, California, where lots of people getting arrested. All over the country, people fighting incredibly important local fights and understanding how those fights fit together in this larger fight for the planet. It's a different kind of movement. It has no huge leaders or central organizations or anything. It's more like the kind of energy system that we're imagining for the future. Millions of solar panels on millions of rooftops, all interconnected and tied together. We're up against the most powerful enemy that there has ever been, this sprawling thing called the fossil fuel industry that has its tentacles in every part of our politics and our economy all over the world, and so our movement has to be sprawling in the same kind of way, a resistance that takes them on at every turn. And it's been a great privilege to get to see a lot of those things. I remember being up in Bellingham not long ago, maybe 18 months ago, for the first big demonstration against the coal port at Cherry Point, and there were 1,000 people out in that little square in Bellingham, and I said to someone, there is no way that they're going to get that port put in there. No way at all. There's no way that they're going to run coal trains through the city of Seattle. There are not enough police to keep those tracks clear day after day after day. There's no way that that's going to happen. And you know what? I almost think that there's the outside possibility, just the chance that we may actually block this damn Keystone Pipeline too. When this fight got started a couple of years ago, everybody said it was just a completely done deal and there was no chance at all. There was a poll in the National Journal, which is the kind of, I don't know what you'd say, the sort of insider newspaper in Washington. And they polled their 300 energy insiders. They're up on the Hill and they're lobbyists and things. And 97% of them said that TransCanada would have its permit by the end of 2011 to build that pipeline, okay? And I suppose we should have been discouraged, but there were too many great people fighting this fight, and it began, make no mistake about it, with our Indigenous brothers and sisters on both sides of the border. It was so good to have Phil and Ruben on hand today, and to be thinking today of all the other people in that fight, you know, up there, our friends like Clayton Thomas Mueller or Melina Lubacan Massimo or Crystal Lehman or all the other people who made that fight when nobody was paying the slightest bit of attention and were doing it so bravely. And they inspired a lot of other people. I see my colleague Ray Bro over here. Ray and a few of her friends helped organize that big civil disobedience in Washington 2 years ago. The biggest civil disobedience action in 30 years in this country about anything. And 1,253 people went to jail. I have a feeling some of them are in this crowd today, you know. And after that, well, then things were sort of rolling. For 2 years, we've held them off. That's 900,000 barrels of oil a day that didn't get out of the ground. And now what we're going to find out sometime in the next year is whether Barack Obama is a kind of Mike McGinn or not. We'll find out if he's willing to stand up when there's some heat on and do the right thing. Make no mistake, he'd probably just as soon not, because the fossil fuel industry is awfully powerful. They've got an awful lot of money, and that's why it's so important that we gather in days like today all across the country to kind of show our potential leaders that we've got their back if they want to be leaders, you know. If Barack Obama blocked the Keystone Pipeline, he would become the first world leader who ever stopped a major project because of its effect on the climate. That would be a seriously big deal. It would not stop global warming. It wouldn't even stop all the Keystone Pipeline, because they've built this southern part of it down in Texas and Oklahoma, where our really brave brothers and sisters there have been fighting hard these last 2 years. But it would stop this connection across the border that would let them take more of this stuff out. It would be a big help to the people living up in that boreal forest who've had to watch as their land was destroyed. I was up there this summer for this healing walk across the tar sands, and it was I can't even, I've seen a lot of bad things in my life, but I've never seen anything quite compare with that. It is unbelievable. I said the other day, for you Tolkien fans, the sort of technical name for what's going on up there is Mordor, you know. You couldn't believe it. They have to fire, they're the world's biggest tailings ponds, some of the biggest dams on Earth, trying to hold back this dirty water that's been polluted in the tar sands refining process. And all day and all night, there are cannons going off. Boom, 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 boom. All the time, because they're trying to scare away any bird that might possibly come near, because if it lands in any of these, it's instantly dead. There's a war going on against nature up there, and right now nature is losing in a serious fashion. And it's our job to try and stand on the other side. And not just for the people up there, you know, for the people now all over this planet who are on the front lines of this climate disaster. We think today about our friends down in California, out on the fire line, in that fire that's still burning, the hugest fire ever in the history of the Sierra Nevada, in the middle of the driest year in California history. We think one mountain range over to the east, in the front range of the Rockies, where they've gotten more rain. Boulder already passed its all-time annual rainfall record. They've already passed it with 3 months to go in the year. There's never been rain like that ever. It's the kind of rain you can only have once you've made the atmosphere wetter so it can hold more moisture. And we think of people not just in our own country. I put on my 350 Mexico shirt today because I was thinking of the 100 and some people who died so far this week when hurricanes came at Mexico from both the Atlantic and the Pacific simultaneously and dropped record amounts of rain across that country. We've got to start soon. And if we block the Keystone Pipeline, then what y'all have done by doing that is help reopen these international negotiations on climate. Then the president will have some kind of bargaining chip. He'll have some kind of leverage. He'll be able to say he did something. And maybe we'll be able to start righting the ship after the debacle in Copenhagen 5 years ago. What you're doing, I guess what I'm trying to say is, couldn't be more important. Couldn't be more important to block these coal trains and these coal ports. Couldn't be more important to stand with the people today in the Appalachians who are fighting mountaintop removal on their Draw the Line Day, or people all over the country who are highlighting all those local fights that are all one big fight. The fight that you're in is the most important fight that human beings are ever engaged in. And we've got to fight it not knowing whether we're going to win it or not. There's no guarantees. All we know is we've got to fight it. And on a day like today, with the sun shining in the midst of what I guess you would call a vast solar spill here in Washington State, with the sun shining and everybody there ready to fight, some part of me likes our odds pretty good. Thank you all so much.